Ongoing strikes in the UK by unions including RMT, who primarily represents workers in the rail and transport sectors, have caused an almost perfect 50-50 divide among Brits. I have two interviews for you today, one from Kacper in Southampton and one from Tanya in Boscombe, who each provided a different perspective on this hot topic. Up first is Kacper.
Whilst I personally do understand why they are striking, I do understand that there has been record high inflation in the UK, that people are struggling. I myself am a transport worker. I work in the maritime industry. I'm not represented by RMT itself, by a different maritime industry. I do not understand why they wish to, or I see why they wish to cause so much chaos before Christmas to get the point across. I just don't agree with it on a personal level, because it's affecting people like myself and others who are trying to get around in this very busy period.
And do you think the government's actions where they've announced sort of changes to legislation regarding the use of contract workers and potentially deploying the army to sort of cover some of these gaps in the schedule, do you think that undermines the strikes, or do you think that's a fair response?
Well, privately I believe that if there will be the strikes, there will be chaos, there will be disruption. And that disruption in one of the busiest periods for Britain must somehow be managed. And if the military can be brought in, if other contract workers can be brought in to ensure that it is less chaotic, then I don't see why that shouldn't take place.
Broadly speaking then, what impact do you think unions have on industry? Do you think it's a positive impact? Do you think it's a negative impact? And which groups do you think are best and worst affected by them?
Well, it genuinely does depend on the industry, because some industries, like the rail industry, they will have much, and the nursing industry, will have much more leverage because of their importance, how important they are to the UK and to the general population. However, that also comes with a responsibility which must be managed. And I do see why they are striking, but at the same time, I do not strike. I am a seafarer. We import 95% of Britain's goods. We do not strike. In our case, that is called mutiny. So why should they be allowed to strike? It's just a very balanced argument, which I don't think there's right answer to.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no worries.
And now, here's Tanya's response.
I completely understand why they're doing the strikes, because it's people's livelihoods that the people are trying to have taken away from them. So I support it completely, because we can't have machines running everything. You know, a ticket machine doesn't answer questions for you. You don't get the same service as you would from a person. So I support them completely.
If that's the main reason for your support,
Yeah.
Do you think a strike causing such disruption at such an important time of the year is really appropriate?
Well, to be quite honest, I think if you do it at a time when no one's going to notice, it's not going to have the effect. So I do understand why they have to do it when the business is going to be disrupted the most, because otherwise the message doesn't get heard.
Perfect. And what impact do you think, broadly speaking, unions tend to have on industry? So which groups do you think are more positively affected by them, and which groups do you think are more negatively affected
I'm
by
all
them?
for unions, because it's for the workers. I'm a working woman myself. I come from a working background. My dad's a union man as well. So I completely understand if people lose their voice, then we lose our rights, we lose everything. And the only people I think that really get affected by it are the top bosses that have not a problem in the world. So I'm all for the workers standing up for their rights. Otherwise, they're just going to get walked over.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much for your
It's an
time.
absolute pleasure.